Hi, in this lesson, I'm going to talk about some softwares that you require as a graphic designer. So basically, I'm going to introduce you to four different softwares, and two of these softwares are sophisticated, hence I do not recommend for a beginner, and two are very user friendly, so you can use any of the latter two that we'll talk about. However, it's essential that I introduce you to all of these so that you have a fair idea which other software are available for you. Then also, when you start with the more beginner friendly and you master the craft of graphic design, you can delve more into the other sophisticated softwares because those other softwares have additional functionalities or permit you to do certain things that you cannot do with a very user friendly ones. So let's go on and let me introduce you to the various software that you can use as a graphic designer. So the very first software that I want to introduce you to is Photoshop, and this is the interface of Photoshop. It's very sophisticated as I mentioned already, but it is very good for graphic designers and a lot of people use it. Personally, I like to use Photoshop for my designs until I met the very one that we are going to master in this course. I was always using Photoshop, but for now, I divide most of my work between what I'm going to teach you in this course and Photoshop. And usually, it is when I have enough time on my hand and I need to do complex designs. That's when I go for Photoshop. But as a beginner, the very one that we are going to use in this course will be enough for you, and you would need it to master the craft. When you become an expert, you can look at Photoshop. For now, I want to introduce you to Photoshop and also how to get it installed, because that is one big challenge that people face, getting Photoshop to install. You need to know that Photoshop is actually a paid product by the Adobe Incorporation. However, if you don't have money and you still want to use it, there are ways around it, and that's what I want to show you. So there is this particular website that I download most of my softwares for. So I'll just quickly go to the site and show you how you can get Photoshop from there. The software is get into PC, getintopc.com. So just go into your browser and type getintopc.com and you'll come to this website. And over here on the right hand side, there is a search box here that you can search for the software you are looking for. So for now, we are looking for Photoshop. So you have to just enter Photoshop, then go. And note that Photoshop, there are a lot of versions out there, and I encourage any version from 2015 upwards. So you can download the 2015 version, 2016, 2017, 18, 2020, 2021. You can download any of them, but you have to make sure that the very version that you are downloading is compatible with the computer you are going to use it on. So with Photoshop and the other one that I will talk about that I refer to as being sophisticated software, you need a computer to run them. But the latter two that we will discuss, you don't necessarily need a laptop, meaning you can as well use a phone to work with them. But for Photoshop, you need a computer to install it on. So you come here and get the setup, you download the setup, then you install it onto the computer. But as I mentioned, you have to make sure that it is compatible with the computer that you are using, or the setup you are choosing should be compatible with the computer that you are using. So for instance, this is Adobe Photoshop 2021 free download, and almost every software you get on this website, getintopc.com, you actually get it for free, and usually it comes with a cracked version, or there is a way they give you a way to crack it such that you don't need to pay anything for it and you can use it forever. All right, so to be able to download it, you just have to click on the one that you have chosen, and quickly let me show you how to know whether it is compatible with your computer or not. So scroll downwards and go to the technical setup details. Over here you realize the full size here. The full setup size is 2.4 gig. It means that it's a huge file and you need a good internet connectivity and a good amount of data to be able to download it. 2.4 gig. So you need beyond 2.4 gig to be able to download the setup. Then also you come down to system requirements. So here you have to pay attention to all of these and compare it to that of your computer. So for instance, with the operating system, you can run the setup on Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, Windows 10. Any of these can run the setup. So you quickly want to confirm that the computer that you are using also have the same specs. So to do that, you can open any folder at all, then click on this PC. When you click on this PC, just right click it and go to properties. Then from here, you are able to tell which Windows you are running or which version of the Windows you are running. So as you can see, I'm running Windows 10, and the setups, the requirement is that you need to have any of these. So I have Windows 10, meaning I can run it. And also the memory should be 1 gig of RAM required. Like you need a minimum of 1 gig RAM. And when you check mine, you realize I have 8 gig RAM and 7.85 usable, so meaning I can equally run this setup on it. Hard disk space, with a hard disk space you can check it from your my PC or my computer. So when you go to my PC, then this is your hard disk. So I have two different partitions. That's how come you can see it as such. One of them I have 40.9 left, the other I have 746 gig left. So any of these two can be used in this case because we need 3 gig of free space to run it. Then also the processor speed should be, the processor should be that of Intel dual core or later. So what this means is that if you have anything beyond Intel dual core, you can use it to run that setup, such as the i3, i5, i7, i9. Any of them can run it. So it's also here. When you go to my computer, you right click and go to properties, then you come to this side, you realize that I am running the i5. So with the processor, this is Intel Core i5. So you can check and confirm the particular system requirement if it meets or if it is compatible with your computer this way. So now that you are aware or you've come to realize that it's compatible, if it is not compatible, you have to go back and search for one that is compatible. So the time that you find the one that is compatible with your PC, then you can go ahead and download it. And one other thing that I didn't mention is the architecture. So for here, this setup, the compatibility architecture is 64-bit, meaning you need to have a 64-bit computer to be able to run this setup. And if you paid attention, you would have seen that of mine. But let's quickly go back and see. This is a 64-bit. The system type is 64-bit. So if you are running a 32-bit system, then you can't run this setup on it. So you have to go and look for one that is 32-bit. Meaning now I am certified that everything here or the setup that I have here is very compatible with my PC, and hence I can go ahead and download it. So to download it, because this is just 64-bit, you have only one button. But sometimes when you click on a particular software, you see that there are two of them. You have the 32-bit and you have the 64-bit. So if it is a 64-bit that you want to download, you click on the download button, then it opens in another tab. You have to wait for this to load, and after it is downloading, depending on the strength of your internet connectivity, it will start downloading as soon as possible. Make sure you don't have an ad blocker on. If there is an ad blocker on, this website will not open. It will keep this way, it will keep loading like this and will never open. So make sure you have any ad blocker on your computer turned off when you want to use getintopc.com to download any software. So now I don't really need a setup because I have it on my other PC that I use for my designs. So I have paused it, but you have to just let it continue downloading so that you can get the setup. So basically this is how to come by the setup for Photoshop. We won't delve into it, but if you are interested, I will encourage you to keep on with the course, learn the nitty-gritties of graphic design, master the art of the designing with a very simple platform. Then now you can migrate to these complex ones to master them as well. All right, so the next software I want to introduce is called Corel Draw. Corel Draw is basically similar to Photoshop in terms of the tools that are available for your use, or the tools that are available for you to use for your design work, but they are not necessarily the same. There are pretty some differences between them, and some people, depending on what you begin with, you tend to have one as your favorite. It doesn't really stand above, or one doesn't really stand above the other, but depending on your own interest, you may end up choosing one as your favorite. So I'm just mentioning it to you, introducing it to you, that it is also available, so that when you see someone using it, you know that yes, indeed, this is one of the softwares that you can equally use for design. Personally, I started learning graphic design with Corel Draw, but I didn't stick with it for the basic reason that the time that I was ready to master graphic design, I didn't get a setup for Corel Draw, and I got that for Photoshop. So I continued using Photoshop. So I don't really choose one over the other. Any one of them that after you've mastered your craft through this course, you can choose any of them, the Corel Draw or the Photoshop. So with Corel Draw today, there are a lot of versions available. I encourage you to pick any version from 2017 and above if it is compatible with your PC. So the same way we did for getting a Photoshop setup, if you want Corel Draw setup, you just come to getintopc.com, then you enter Corel Draw into the search box, then it comes up. You have a lot of versions, as I mentioned, so you choose the particular version that will suit you and is compatible to your PC. I've also walked you through how to check for the compatibility, so you just have to check and make sure that you have the one that suits your computer, then you download that one as well, so you can equally use that for your designs. Okay, so a quick recap of what we have learned in this lesson. In this lesson, we've talked about two main software that we use in graphic design. I said that these are quite sophisticated. So in the subsequent lesson, we are going to learn the very basic software that we can use, or platforms that we can use to download it. I mentioned that for these two, you need a computer to be able to use them. You have to download and install the setup on your computer, and I've walked you how to download it. For installation, you just double click, you just extract. After you download it, you extract the setup, then you install. One thing that I forgot to mention is that when you download, when you choose, okay, let's choose one of these. Yeah, so this is what I forgot to tell you, the password down here. After downloading, as you can see from here, when it's downloading, it is a zipped file, or it is a compressed file. So to be able to extract it, you need a password, and over here the password is 123. So when you double click it after downloading, you enter 123, it will open, then you extract. After extracting, just double click on the setup in there and follow the prompt that will come to just install it. It's that simple. I'll catch you in the next lesson.